Yeah, I mean, basically, I start off with an idea, and then I will do a synopsis of the whole, maybe 3 or 4 pages. That's what now have to do that because the publisher requires it. But it also gives me an idea of where I'm going with the story because I always start off with an idea, but I mean, I've had ideas that just haven't worked when I've actually sat down to try and work it into an entire book. So I would start off with the synopsis, and then I would literally go, I normally break it into about 30 chapters. Now, some of my books have ended up being 45 chapters. And there are some chapters where there's gaps where actually I can't think of anything that's going to happen, but they tend to be later chapters. And by the time your book's has taken the momentum, those chapters will fill up very easily. So I might probably detail maybe chapter 1 to 22. Then there tends to be maybe a couple of gaps, and then I'll know exactly how the end is going to go. So that's kind of how I work. But as I said, amazing things happen. I wrote a book recently, and this character turned up in chapter 7. She sat down for dinner. I had no idea where she came from. She was never in a plan, and she became a really important part of that book. And somebody said to me, well, were you not afraid to let her come into the book? And I said, well, no, if a character turns up in your book, that means you're in the zone, that means you're writing, that means you're really creating, and she deserves to be there, and there's a reason she's there. And she ended up being a really important character in my book, and I'm delighted she turned up, and that is the beauty of being in the zone, to use a kind of a crummy term.
Everyone says, oh, plot, that's what a crime novel is, really, isn't it? And it's very important, and you must plan. How could you keep it all in your head? I find it almost impossible to plot fully. I don't do that. I get a premise, I get a start, I get a hook, something that will get me going. And that will involve a range of possibilities, that the action can go in several different directions. And usually there's more than one level to it, so that you're talking about, for example, in All the Dead Voices, the setup is that a woman comes to Ed Loy and tells him that her father was murdered and her mother's lover was jailed for the crime. So that sets up a hook that you've got Ed Loy investigating a cold case that the police won't touch. You've also got a political dimension, which is a deep past about terrorism and the post-Troubles Ireland, and that is developed in the book. And you've got an organised crime element, and those elements are so there's so many possibilities. You've almost got a list of people Ed Loy has to check out, and then you're working towards people who may be checking him out, and you just go along with that and see where that is going to take you. So it's an organic process. But it's important.